up guys, welcome back to the channel, and for today's video I wanted to give you guys a review on Sandman, one of the new characters that we just got from the 3.2.0 update, otherwise known as the Sinister 6 update, right? Now, before I go in and start talking, guys, I'm going to make a really bold statement here, and I'm going to tell you guys that I think Sandman is the best new character that we just got, right? And the reason why I say he's the best, even though when compared to the others, he's not that far ahead of them where it makes them look bad. It's just that he fits a role in this game that we have had a hole in for a really long time, and that is when it comes to Extreme AB on the Combat Supervillain Day. Ever since we got Extreme AB, there has only been one character that we could rely on in order to get us a score over 100k, and that is Carnage. He's been the guy at the top, and although he's still the guy at the top, the fact that for so long he was the only one who could get us over 100k was a pretty big deal, because he is premium. So if you were a free-to-play player, you're shit out of luck. The best you could do was make this team right here, and you'd have to tier 2 Ulik, tier 2 Bullseye, and tier 2 Nebula, get both Bullseye's uniform and Nebula's uniform in order to scrape together a team that could get you over 100k. Now, using this team right here with all of these guys at tier 2, you could potentially get about half of what a top tier decked out Carnage gets. So you'd have to tier 2 3 different characters, build them up just to get half of what a tier 2 Carnage with a really good build is able to put up. However, guys, that is no longer the case. With the recent addition of this guy right here, we now have a hero, or rather a villain, a combat one at that, that is able to break 100k. You're going to have to still build him pretty well. You're going to definitely have to play him pretty well, but he can do it, and you don't need 2 other tier 2s in order to make it happen, right? Because when you use this team right here, you need to swap between Ulik, Bullseye, and Nebula pretty frequently in order to make that 100k happen, right? It's not like you're using any one of them for any set amount of time. You just have to play one. Once you get silenced, you switch to the other, and you switch to the other, and you keep doing that, and then hopefully you'll make it to 100k. However, with Sandman's kit, he's actually good enough to do it on his own, right? Not necessarily on his own, with a leadership, just like Carnage would need a leadership, right? Carnage can do it without a leadership, but I'm talking about like just to get the most amount of points possible, you would use Carnage with a leadership, so you would use one for him as well, okay? And the reason why this is such a big deal, guys, is because when it comes to the Combat Supervillain class, the fact that Carnage is the only one in this class that could break 100k, when you're looking at Blast Day, Universal Day, Speed Day, there is at least 2 characters in every single one of those categories that can get you over 100k. And if you look at the polar opposite to this day, so Combat Hero Day, there's at least 8 people that I can count that can break 100k. So getting Sandman is actually going to be a golden ticket for some of you guys who are completely free to play. So I'm going to highly recommend you guys go ahead and think about building him, right? Now let's go ahead and look at Sandman's kit and what actually makes this happen, right? Now we're going to go ahead and look at his skills from top to bottom. And right off the bat, I'm going to tell you that this leadership right here, I'm not a fan of it. I do not like it. I do not use leaderships like these. However, I'm not going to say it's a terrible leadership. It is a decent leadership if you're new to this game and you need that bit of extra survivability to help you learn the mechanics of the game. However, once you progress further in the game, leaderships like these are no longer going to be of any use to you. However, he is Sandman. He's known for having really high defenses, or rather being really hard to get rid of. So this leadership does fit him, so I can't really argue with why Netmarble would do this, okay? Not leadership I'm a fan of, but it still has a use in the game. Tier 2 passive, although it looks pretty bad, or rather it just looks pretty plain, because Sandman's tier 1 kit is actually pretty decent all around, this right here is actually just icing on the cake. The decrease that he gets to all damage received is very, very nice, because he has some damage block and some iframes sprinkled into his kit with a little bit of healing, okay? So this right here, it looks at first glance as it would just be a lackluster standard tier 2 passive, and in most cases for most other characters this would be a so-so tier 2 passive, okay? But for Sandman, it is a decent tier 2 passive. Could it be better? Absolutely yes. But is it okay? Yes, it is, okay? And this 5 skill right here is a bit controversial, guys, because when it was first introduced, it was introduced as giving you 4 seconds of damage immunity. However, immediately after launch, when the game came back up, Netmarble changed this from being 4 seconds to being 3 seconds. Okay, so I'm a little bit sad, a little bit upset that they changed it and lowered your damage immunity by 1 second. It might seem like nothing, but that 1 second would actually make a really big difference in Sandman's kit because he does have a good bit of tankiness built into it. Okay, still a really good skill, and one of the best part about this skill is that you can just go ahead and click the skill and skill cancel into something else, and the animation of the sand giant that's attacking will keep going. He will still be dealing damage, and you can use the 3 seconds to use one of your other skills that does not have any kind of protection on it. Okay, so it is still a good skill. I'm just really sad that they took away that extra 1 second that would have made it a little bit more useful to you. 4 skill, it is an iframe. It does really good damage, and as you guys can see right here, it does some energy. So if you're up against someone like, let's say, Black Dwarf, and he drops that physical shield, boom, you can use this one and it will do a good bit of damage in order to help break that shield. Okay, really good skill. It does good damage, and it is an iframe. Okay, 4-star passive right here is actually a really good 4-star passive. I say good because I would have liked it to be a little bit better. The activation rate, 55% chance to activate when hit, is whatever. I would have liked it to be 55% chance when you're attacking. That would have made it great in my eyes. Still, 100% chance to be immune to physical damage is pretty fitting for Sandman. 3 seconds is kind of like, but I'll take it because it's better than most of the 4-star passives in the game right now. And on top of that, it does give you a little bit of healing, right? The healing part actually bothers me a little bit because these sand particles that actually fall off his body, they're so small, and oftentimes you will not even see them unless you're really like low on health and you're like frantically looking around trying to find them. Okay, I really wish they were a bit more noticeable. Otherwise, this is a decent 4-star passive. The cooldown time is pretty good, so it will activate quite often since the activation rate is so high. They just need to tweak a few things here, make the sand a little bit more noticeable, and if they made it heal for a little bit more, that would be cool. But I can deal with the low healing if they just made the sand particles bigger or just more noticeable as a whole. Okay, 3 skill right here is actually a pretty good skill. It gives you 15% increase to your all defense. It gives you super armor, which is great because that means he cannot be guard broken or interrupted when he's attacking. This is amazing. On top of that, it gives you 15% increase to all attack and an additional 15% to all defense. So whenever you put this up, you're going to get 30% all defense, super armor, 15% increase to all attack, and your character will get bigger, so you will look cooler. Okay, bigger, better, badder, cooler. Love it. Really good 3 skill. The only fault I can find with this skill is that it is not an iframe. When you do it, you're standing still and oftentimes you will take damage. However, you can do it from pretty far away. As long as you're making sure you're safe when you use it, you should be fine because the animation for it is very, very short. Oftentimes you can just click it, jump into something else, and you won't even notice that you lost a second there while you were using it. Okay, 2 skill actually does really good damage. However, it is a single target skill and it does not have any kind of iframe or CC to it. Okay, so this skill right here is probably one of his more dangerous skills, but it does good damage. What I like to do is whenever I'm going to use it, I will use the 5 skill first and then take advantage of that 3 seconds of damage immunity, and then I will use this, and then from there I'll go ahead and use the 4. However, I generally start my fights by using the 3. So 3, 5, 2, 4 for the iframe, and then if I feel like being cheeky, I'll use the 1 skill. Okay, the 1 skill right here, there's 2 things that are not shown. One, this skill right here is a bind. So whenever you use it, Sandman is going to kneel down to the ground, summon these hands, and is going to grab the enemy and is going to put them into a bind for a couple seconds. Okay, so this is actually really, really good for Shadowland, PvP, that kind of stuff, right? And the end part of the skill is an iframe. So the beginning where he kneels down, you're very vulnerable, so do not try this against world bosses unless you're really far away and you know the world boss will not be able to make up the difference, like in terms of how far you are away from him, before you can get off the final part of the attack, because the final part of the attack is an iframe, okay? So for me, rotation that I like to use is 3, 5, 2, 4, and if I feel like being cheeky, like I said, I use 1. But oftentimes, if I'm up against a world boss, I'll just leave the 1 out, move around for a couple seconds, and then just go back into my rotation of 5, 2, 4, okay? Whenever the sand giant runs out, I'll go ahead and cast that again, and bada bing, bada boom, bada bang, okay? Just like that. Now, as for his gears, guys, as you guys can see, I'm still working on him, but his native gears are actually pretty decent. He gets physical attack and HP in the first slot, so you want to roll something like I have here, so physical attack per level, all attack and physical attack for the remaining slots, and you will be good, okay? Next slot right here is actually pretty decent. You get physical defense. I'm not a fan of it. However, you do get crit damage, okay? So right here, you would have liked, ideally, all defense because that would have made him a little bit more tanky, or at the very least, you would have wanted energy defense. Because he's a combat type, he's weak against blast types, and most blast types are energy attacking characters. So the fact that he has physical defense is just kind of like, it's going to give him a bit of an edge when he goes up against speed types, because most speed types deal physical damage. However, when he goes up against energy attacking characters, he's going to take a beating, okay? So because of that, for the first 2 slots, I rolled energy defense per level, and then for the remaining slots, I rolled all defenses. And you want something similar to this, okay? Next slot right here, you have ignore defense and crit rate. This is a premium slot. Love it. This is amazing, okay? So right now he has 3 really good slots, okay? Ignore defense, crit rate, love it. Wouldn't have changed a thing here, okay? Right here, you want to go ahead and roll HP per level and HP for the remaining slot. You can go ahead and roll HP per level for the second slot as well. And just make sure you go ahead and get a percent that's over 185, okay? 183, 185, and you'll be getting a little bit more than just rolling for the numbered values like I have here, okay? So next slot right here is a hit and a miss, okay? So we got skill cooldown, which is really good because it's gonna mean that if your cards are in good standings, you don't need to roll skill cooldown on these slots right here, okay? Movement speed, I do not care for it. I would have liked this to be attack speed. If this was attack speed, this would have been 4 amazing gear slots. But you can't really complain, you got 3.5, right? So for right here, guys, I rolled ignore defense and some crit rate and a little bit of attack speed. I'm still working out the kinks on this last slot right here. But for now, this is what it's gonna look like, okay? As for his gears, guys, because I'm building him to eventually tier 2 and use him in extreme AB, this is the obelisk that I'm going to be running on him, right? So crit damage, crit rate, and a damage proc. And if you're trying to do something similar with him, if you're trying to build him for extreme AB because you do not have carnage, I have carnage, but I wanted to test him out eventually and show that to you guys. So that's why I decided to put a damage proc here. If you're not going to do that, go ahead and put invincibility here. Similar setup would be okay. Just keep in mind that if you do this and you put crit damage, crit rate, and whatever you decide to put here, whether it's a damage proc or invincibility, you're going to have to go ahead and put some Urus on him for ignore defense in order to make that up, okay? Because you still need to make sure that your ignore defense hits 50%, okay? So if you want to go for a PvP build, drop invincibility here, keep the 2 stats at the beginning the same, and you're looking at a pretty tanky Sandman. Because of the damage immunity, the iframes, and the little bit of healing that he has, you'll be pretty tanky, especially in Conquest, okay? So as for his ISO set, guys, I'm running Power of Angry Hulk because we didn't get any attack speed on his gears and I wanted a little bit more, right? So that's why I'm decided to run this. But if you get Overdrive, that's a good ISO set as well. I'm going to tell you, do not get Hawk's Eye because he has some skill cooldown already on here. Do not waste time getting Hawk's Eye. If you do get it though and you're really low on gold, I would say keep it as a temporary ISO set, but ideally you want to go for Power of Angry Hulk or Overdrive. And I'm going to tell you, stay away from any HP shield or any kind of healing ISO set unless you're building him specifically for PvP and Conquest, okay? If you're building him for those reasons, go ahead. But anything else, Shadowland, World Boss, Alliance Battle, go with an attacking ISO set and you will not be wrong, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys my details page because I often leave this out the video. Sorry about that, guys. So as you guys can see, I have 38.24% on the skill cooldown, a little bit more than I need, but there's nothing I can really change in order to lower that, okay? So ignore defense, 33.70, Still need to max that out. I'm going to make it up with Urus. And as you guys can see right here, I have 169% crit damage, 40% crit rate, and a little bit of attack speed, 107. Need some more there, but this is what I'm working with for now. And instead of doing my typical Shadowlands solo to give you guys some practical application, we're going to jump in here and do some world boss against Ebony, okay? So let's just jump in here and let's get a quick match against Ebony Maw, right? Now, do not judge Sandman solely on his clear time here, because you need to keep in mind that Ebony Maw is one of the more elusive world bosses, so he's going to be constantly jumping into iframes and making it really difficult for you to hit him. So I'm going to use this team right here. I'm just going to use a standard 30% leadership with Crossbone, and we're just going to throw Drax in here, and it's going to be all about Sandman. So let's drop Doctor Strange and Sharon Rogers, and we're going to go have some fun with Sandman. Alright. You and me. Old man Ebony. Ouch. Ah, you're pretty nimble for an old geezer. I'll give you that. And I'm just face tanking for the most part, guys. Generally, you want to like actually avoid some of these attacks. I gotta throw my buff up though. There we go. Get out of here. Get out of there. Scared. Get out of here and take your death like a ebony. Whatever that means. There you have it, guys. We got it. Sandman just cleaned house. Pretty decent clear time, to be honest with you guys. Tier 1, gears are not completed. Still messing around with him a little bit. And that was a pretty sloppy run. But that's all I have to share for this one, guys. Let me know how you've been liking Sandman, guys. If you think he's better than I said, if you think he's worse than I said. But like always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the comment section, boys. And I'm out.